Hello, everybody. How are you? I am Penda James, and I am a scribe coach. And what you are watching is the Resilience Project. This is an opportunity for me to introduce my friends to my friends so that we can all do great work in the kingdom. I am talking to people that I care about so that I can gather tools for leaders. I'm trying to get to 100 declarations for leaders. And today, I am so deeply honored to introduce you all to a young lady by the name of Taylor Simone Dotson. She is such a powerhouse, and she's going to tell you more about herself as we are talking. But the one thing I want you to know, to write in your journals right now, is that her declaration is, I found my faith. So Taylor is, I think you're a sophomore. You're a
Yeah.
sophomore. She is a sophomore in high school. She's a big sister. She's a little sister. She comes from loving parents. She's a community servant. She's just so sweet and so humble. And I'm so honored that she is willing to talk to me today and to talk to all of you about declarations for leaders. Taylor, is there something that I did not say that you want our viewers to know about you?
No, thank you. That was a really good description. And having me on here. I'm honored to be here, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Just get used to it. You're going to be on big stages. So, just get ready. So, my first question for you is, how do you define what it means to find your faith?
Okay, so a lot of times we go through life challenges and um many different trials of life that make it easy for us to get discouraged, and especially when you're spiritually tapped in, you go through a lot of spiritual attacks and things of that sort. So for me, what it means to find faith is to just sit back and say, I'm just going to give it to God, and from there wholeheartedly believe that He's going to work everything out for the greater good of it all. So really, it just means trusting God and finding that firm, steady trust in God that He's going to work everything out. So that's what it means to find faith too.
I'm like, how do you know all this at 16? I mean, sheesh. So that leads me to what my next question is. And this is an opportunity for you to share a little bit of your testimony if you feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So my first reaction is like, yes, you are 16 and you have such phenomenal faith for your age, but faith is a gift. And
Right.
so you just walking in your gifts. So my second question for you is, how has finding faith been a thread throughout your life?
Okay, so when I was 13, I got hit with like unexpected severe anxiety and depression. So I was always really worried about things, and I can't really say specific things. It was just life in general. Like, and for me, my biggest thing was health. Like, I was always healthy, but for some reason, I think that was just the test in general. I think God just used that to kick off the anxiety and depression. But for me, faith has been a thread in my life. Well, finding it, again, going through those trials, I went through 2 years of dealing with severe anxiety and depression. So for me, I was trying to find different strategies to get through it. But for me, I was going through all of these strategies and it just wasn't working. So eventually, I got tired of coming to dead ends, basically, to about some of that. So I just asked God, I was like, God, what am I doing wrong? Because obviously it just wasn't working out. So um, when I said that, he just told me, like, you just don't have faith. Like, you just don't have faith in me, because I wasn't believing that I was going to get through it. I was just going through different strategies. Like, I would read Bible verses because I knew it was something spiritual. I just didn't know the deepness of what it was.
Mhm.
So I was reading Bible verses and things of that sort, and I just wasn't feeling it. Like, it was like I was reading a Bible verse and it was going in one ear and not in the other, and it just wasn't working out. So, um, again, I just had to find that faith, like, why, and I had to ask myself, like, why don't I believe that I would get through these challenges? And it was hard, and I was like, okay, so for me, I just had to cut out all distractions around me, because what it was, like, I'm a teenager, so it's like I get caught up in social media and a lot of these things, and then you got Satan in the other ear telling you all of these lies because you're so young and considered naive. So I just had to cut out all distractions, and I had to really say, okay, who am I? Like, I just had to really get into who I really was and discover, my purpose and things of that sort. And so that's how I truly found faith. I just had to sit down and say, like, why don't I believe? And it was because I had all of these distractions. Again, you have to watch what you're exposed to, because whatever you see on social media and things of that sort, you could take in a lot of those things. And then this generation in itself is not really spiritual. It's like super unnormalized to be a Christian or to be, deep within God. So for me, I was just like, I already know that I have a love for God. I already know that I have a purpose. I already know that I have a certain anointing in my life, that I have that undeniable, mark of God on me. I always been, very spiritual. So I was just like, okay, I just need to find this faith. Like, why can't I believe? And so I just had to really stay consistent within trying to find that faith. And it's like, once I did, I had to, build strategies, different strategies, and continue reading the Bible, because that's what leads to, you getting closer to Christ. I had to get closer to him. And then once he showed me, his characteristics and the way he shows up, and as I kept, I was recognizing the grace I was receiving and things of that sort. And so when I just, started recognizing his characteristics and started recognizing who he truly was, that's when I said, okay, this is what I want to do. And I just found that trust. We just built that trust, and I went through many different challenges. Again, challenges strengthen you. So for me, challenges is what I went through to strengthen my faith. I went through certain challenges. It was like, okay, so how am I going to get through this? And just, the trust just built up from there. I was like, okay, I just set my mind on things above, and that's just what got me through. So once I started going through challenges, and my faith strengthened in each and every challenge. So just from there, um, that's just how I discovered my faith. And then it took me a long time to find it and establish it. But I just had that mindset that, everything good comes from a challenge. I can't, everything's not going to always be peaches and cream. I have to go through things to become more strong and become more trusting. And so, I just look at challenges that way now. It's like, okay, what is this challenge? I know there's evolvement behind this challenge. So let me just get through this and have faith that I'm going to get through it, because I can. So that's really how I found it. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you gave some nuggets in there, Taylor, and I know you were teaching Bible study, and all of those are also gifts. How have you been able to like support some of the people in your life who don't really remember what it's like to stand on their faith, or to look for their faith?
So for me, it's all about experience. For me, I've been through the whole faith journey. I feel like it's only going to grow even more, and I'm only going to go through more and more challenges, because again, that's how I get fan strength, and that's how my strength gets even more strong. But for me, again, it's all about experience, just remembering how it was for me, so, you can't really teach something that you haven't already been through. So, especially in this generation, because children, you have to elaborate to them, they don't just understand, especially in this generation. Like I said, this generation has so many different distractions. So, really, I just use my experience, use my testimony. Again, my book is going to be a really, I feel like strong. It's going to be guidance for a lot of teenagers, because that's the main audience that I've created it for. So I just, to help guide other people, again, just my experience, and just basing it off of the word. It speaks about faith, a lot about trusting God. And so that's the strategy that I use, and then my experience to top it off. So
So I know your brother plays basketball. Do you play basketball too? Or
yes.
so how is that on the court? I talked to Dr. Tinsley, and she talked about playing all four quarters in life. So how do you apply your faith to the court?
So for me, the main goal of basketball games is winning, obviously, the victory of the game. So for me, it's just confidence and just making sure I play hard. You know, I pray before every game, every practice, everything. So, you know, and I just started getting, you know, good at basketball because last year actually is when I was going through, you know, anxiety, depression.
Oh,
Like last year, I didn't score no points. I just didn't really care. You know, I just played just cause I thought it would just be something fun to get my mind off of everything that was going on in reality. So last year I just didn't really care. So this year, that made me even more, you know, fueled up to go harder this year because it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And before I played, you know, I prayed about it. Everything
yeah.
before I pray about it because, you know, it was a very bad experience for me last year. So it was kind of like, I really don't want to go through that again. But then this year I thought about it. I was like, okay, I'm in a whole different position. I'm going to play. And then just on the court, I just have, you know, that faith that I just have to go hard and I have to play my position and things of that sort. But I haven't had any games. So I haven't really experienced this new year because, you know,
Oh, because of COVID.
so we were supposed to have a game yesterday actually, but it got canceled.
Oh, hopefully you'll be able to apply some of these new principles on the court, but you're able to name them and speak them. And I was wondering, you were talking about you switch positions. So what position you play now?
So now it's really, I think it's guard. I believe. I don't know. I
Oh yeah, I was about to say that. Uh-huh.
really don't know that exact.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can't, because the guard is the leader, the guard is the one who sees everything and calls the plays. And so if you apply that to everything that you just went through, now you're able to pull people out as the guard. Like, I see you, pay attention, or, because I used to play basketball. So you clap a lot, like, pay attention.
Right.
And so that's going to be amazing to see you shifting in your leadership because your faith has shifted. And so your faith has to grow as a result of your new level.
Right.
So let's talk about your book. I'm not revealing it for the first time. It has been shown on social media, but I want to show it here. Make it a little bigger for everybody. This is so absolutely beautiful. So tell us about this book that you wrote, Finding Faith, Discovering Life Through Severe Anxiety and Depression.
Okay, so in summer of 2018, you know, that was really the last days of me being like free from spiritual attacks and things of that sort. So after that, in the school year of 8th grade, which was September of 2018, I believe, um, I started to experience like health, physical torment. It wasn't anything too major, but it was like symptoms of anxiety, like physical symptoms. And that's what really started my anxiety because it's like I've always been super healthy. So it's like I just didn't know what was going on. So that's where my anxiety like started. And that's from where I remember it started. That's the beginning of, you know, the journey to where I'm at now. So I just started experiencing physical torment. Then that's when experiencing that led to Google searches and just trying to figure it out, trying to self-diagnose myself and all of this other stuff. So that right there led me to doctor visits and therapy and things of that sort. So first, let me backtrack. So I went through physical torment and which resulted in anxiety. Physical symptoms.
Yeah.
And so that alone, being that I was diagnosed with that, the doctor suggested that I go to therapy. So therapy is where I took a test, a little mini quiz or whatever, that had 25 questions on it. And I, you know, got diagnosed with severe anxiety from that test because most of the questions were accurate that I answered. So right there is when that was just the physical part of it. And then that's when I started digging deeper into, okay, why do I have anxiety? Because it was bigger than just regular anxiety. It was something spiritual. So when I figured out it was something spiritual, I was like, okay. So I'm like, God, what is going on? Like, I just didn't understand because I was so young. And so from there, I just recognized that the anxiety and all of that was a form of spiritual attack. So that's when from there I was just working on, building my strength and building my faith and finding faith through what it was, because it led to, well, this whole journey led to me discovering purpose, discovering faith, discovering, who I truly was, discovering my spiritual maturity, discovering my spiritual gifts, and so many things. So that's really what the book is about. Just the core of it is about finding faith through spiritual attacks, because again, like I said, once I figured out that I was under spiritual attack, I was like, okay, so like, why me? Like, why am I chosen to do this? So, yeah, and I just didn't believe, like, for a long time, I just didn't have faith that I was going to get through it. I didn't have faith in God that He was going to work it out. I just thought it was going to be my reality forever. Like, usually when we go through stuff like that, go through any mental health issue in general, it just kind of feels like we're just stuck, or it kind of feels like we're going to go through this forever. Like, it's just going to be our reality. We feel like there's no hope and things of that sort. So there's so many things that goes into the story, but the core of it is basically just finding faith that I was going to get out of it. And a lot of things good came from this journey. And yeah, so that's really what it's about. And
Do
a
you
lot of
have a couple lines that you can read to us?
So one thing I would read is from the end of chapter 2, a hypnosis, is within a few months of going through anxiety, I went through a lot of changes. A lot of times change can be tough. The way I adapted to these changes were not too good. How do you think these changes will affect me in the future? Will they get better, or will I continue to suffer?
That's a good place to leave us hanging. I love it. I am so excited because I think a lot of times we don't always listen to young people when they say, like, I'm feeling anxious, or I hear, because my daughter is 13, and so
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of times things that she says that I probably was experiencing when I was 13, but we didn't have the words back then to verbalize, like, I'm feeling unsettled. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so that uneasiness on the inside is anxiety.
Right.
So thank you for the courage, number one, to tell your story, to write your story, because you're going to help a lot of people, young and old, to be able to understand this process. What do you see for your book? Like, do you foresee you're going to be teaching, or do you see, some book clubs, or, what do you see?
Um. Well, really, what you just said, I see
Okay.
myself, yeah, doing things of that sort, basically about some of that. Yeah, book clubs, teaching, more interviews, things of that sort. So,
Yeah, and also your Bible study. You can
mm,
use your book as part of your Bible study so that people can hear your story and then apply it to the scripture. I think that's where the disconnect comes from. Because you were saying that a little bit earlier, like, I was reading the Bible. Well, when you go through something and then read the Bible, it illuminates in a
right.
different way. And so that's really, really awesome. Do you have something that you want people to know about finding faith?
Um, what I want people to know about finding faith is that faith doesn't make things easy, but it makes them possible. So for me, it's kind of like, when you go through different challenges, there's always, like I said, there's always evolvement behind challenges. Challenges get you ready to evolve into a higher version of yourself. So, um, I would just say, when going through challenges, going through obstacles, just because you have faith, it's not going to make it easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but it makes it possible for you to get through. So as long as you have that faith, you're going to be able to get through anything, especially when you have faith, not only in yourself, but in God, you know what I mean? Because He's the ruler, He's the ultimate, He's all powerful. So you just have to have faith that He's going to work it through. And faith doesn't only just come with, spiritual things, but everything, the whole entire dynamic of your life, you know what I mean? Everything. You have to have faith that you're going to get opportunities. You have to have faith that you're going to, you know, um, just evolve within life to live within purpose. You're going to have faith through everything. So you can't do things if you don't believe. So
Yes. So can you look in the camera and talk to a leader
mm,
of any age and tell them what they need to do to find their faith?
so I would just say, read the word, to be honest. Get closer, ask God how you can get closer to him, and you have to make sure you stay consistent. For me, there was a point in time where I wasn't consistent, but especially when you're dealing with spiritual things, you have to make sure, if you're trying to find your faith, you stay consistent. You have to make sure that when you want to know God, you have to make sure you do the things and you do the work to know him. He's not an easy date. You have to show him that, you're ready, that you're serious,
Yeah.
and just stay consistent within finding your true belief and finding the trust that you have within God.
Is there anything else on your notes that
Hmm.
that we might have missed that you think you want to add?
Not really. I feel like I covered a lot.
I feel like you have fortified my faith, and I'm so grateful for you and for you telling your story. And so I hope that those of you who are watching us today had your journals and that you wrote down some of the amazing things that Taylor said, because we all need to go back when we forget to find
Mm-hmm.
our faith
Right.
to do it. And she told us to be consistent, to seek God, to search after him.
Right.
And she's got people around her who support her, who pray for her, who love her. So you need to do that too. And so I want all of you all to go and connect with Taylor on her social media. You want to give it to them?
So my Instagram, which I'm mainly on, is T Simone Dotson. TSIMONEDOTSON. So if you wanna, DM me or anything of that sort, that's the main social media platform that I'm on.
And you want to DM her so that you can buy her book. And you want to DM her so that you can invite her to come and talk to your young people. Better yet, reach out to her mama for that, because her mom is her agent. So thank y'all so much for being here. Remember why you are resilient and gather your tools so that you can stay resilient. Let's rally around Taylor, because she has found her faith and she is encouraging us to find ours. I love y'all so much. Thank you for being here.